Hi whole class, hope you're all doing alright. Today in maths we're going to be looking at tens and ones. So thinking of those multiples of 10 and thinking about those teen numbers. So let's have a look. So here we have some cubes, and if we count them, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 cubes. So we can have them as 10 ones. But if we put them together, it's a 10. So a 10 is made up of 10 ones. So we can either say that it's 1 10 or 10 ones. It also doesn't matter if it's the other way around. It's still exactly the same. It's 10 ones made up of 1 10. It doesn't matter if it changes colour, because again it's exactly the same. It is 10 ones to make 1 10. If we pull it apart, we have 10 ones. Put it back together, we have got 1 10. So it's just remembering that if they're apart, then it's ones, but if it's together and there's 10 of them, then it's 1 10. It doesn't matter if they're all different colours, as long as it is 1 10. So obviously 10 ones, so 10 cubes, 10 ones makes 1 10. Here we have 2 5s. Again, we know 5 and 5 makes 10. So we have 10 ones, 1 10. So we can represent 1 10 in many different ways. We're used to seeing it in our tens and ones that we use at school, our deans. But it could be that it's presented in a slightly different way, like it is on the screen here. So we've got 1 10 from 10 cubes, 10 ones. So we've got 1 10 and 10 ones. Doesn't matter how we present it, it is just the same. So 10 cubes is the same as 1 10. We have the same 10 cubes, 10 ones is the same as 1 10. So this time we've got some eggs. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So I've got 10 eggs. I've got one box of 10, haven't I? I've got 1 10. So although I've got 10 eggs, so like my 10 ones, I've got 1 10. 10 ones, 1 10. Here we have some sticks. I have got 10 sticks, which makes 1 10. So we can just represent it in different ways. Here we have 1 10. Here we have another 10, represented as numicon. Here we have 1 10, represented on a 10 frame. 10 1 pennies, so I could have 10 ones, which is the same as a 10 pence piece. So I've got 10 1 pennies, which is the same as 1 10 pence. Well, let's have a look at it with apples. How many apples do we think we have? So we looked at this before, didn't we? It's easier if we group them into 1 10. So let's have a group of 10. So we know we've got 1 10 there, and we've got 3 others. So we've got 1 10 and 3, which is 13. So we'd write it like that, wouldn't we? 13. The 1 is the 10, representing my one group of 10, and the 3 are my 3 other apples. I've got 3 ones left over, haven't I? So I've got 1 10 and 3 ones. Let's have a look at the balloons then. So the balloons, we've got one group of 10, and we've got 5 ones. So again, we would write 15. We would write 1 10, one group of 10, and 5 ones, 15. Let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. So here we have the balloons. We said we had 15 balloons. How many 10s do I have and how many ones? So how many groups of 10 have I got? Well, I've got one group of 10, haven't I? Because I've got that circle of 10. So I've got 1 10 and I've got 5 ones left over. And we can write that as 15, as we've just seen. So we look at the 10s and 1s. We've got one group of 10 and we've got 5 ones left over, 15. What about now? How many pencils do I have? So how many 10s and how many 1s? So I've got one packet of 10 pencils. So I know I've got 1 10 and then I've got 4 pencils left on their own. So that means I've got 4 1s left over. So I would write that as 14. So that's why we're thinking about how many 10s and 1s, because as we go on to bigger numbers, we can start to think about how many 10s and 1s are in a number. But in this picture, we've got one pack of 10 pencils and 4 1s left over. So we write that as 14. So we have 4, which means the 4 1s, and the teen, which represents the 10 in this instance. So what about this number? Let's look at it as a number now. How many 10s, how many 1s? So looking at 11, pull that number apart. How many 10s and how many 1s do we have? So we've got 1 10 and 1 1, haven't we? If we look at our 11, remember that first 1, the 10, okay, that 0 is hidden behind the 1s number. It's what we call a placeholder. It's holding that 1s in place. So we have 1 10 and 1 1s. What about now? How many 10s, how many 1s? We've got 1 10 and 5 1s this time. So we've got our 10 and that 0 is holding that 5 in place for our 1s. So 1 10 and 5 1s. What about now? Number 19. How many 10s, how many 1s? So we have 1 10 and 9 1s. Now I want you to have a go. So I want you to write the 10s and 1s for each number. So look at the number and then write how many 10s, how many 1s for that number. Pause the video, have a go, and then the answers will come on. And here are your answers. There we go. So give yourselves a little tick. Maybe if you've got something wrong or a little bit unsure, ask your grown up, or remember to email Miss Creaser and Mrs Jackson your work, and we can always help you with that as well. Bit trickier now, moving on to 10s and 1s. We've just started to do that, but I'm sure you've done absolutely fantastic whole class with that. Any problems, do get in touch and we'll continue a few more over this next week around 10s and 1s and partitioning. Stay safe, whole class.